in the morning. Outside Pat's house. Canberra Street. I've got to go there tomorrow.
Oh, yes. No, they're back in town this week. At least they've got no trucks up there to annoy them. They're going to have the greenie groups. They're coming into town today too.
I thought they might turn up today. British High Commission.
British High Commission there, yes.
So you can see they didn't give themselves very much of an elaborate building, but
no, they
slightly
didn't. But it has been there for quite some time too now.
Yeah.
The number of beds. We can't.
It's one of the original buildings of Canberra.
Right.
Hired, it's under national heritage order. Hired group of the police on it to run it.
The Albert Hall.
Yes, Canberra's first meeting place, that. It's the first building built on this side of what's now the lake. In those days it was a river.
The Wollonga. Lakeside, right? I hear about that so often down in Melbourne.
It's one of the recommendations.
So staying at the lakeside.
We believe over time, obviously, we've said that we support the basic thrust of the report towards more competition in the marketplace.
Pretty much getting right into the city. So, courthouse soon to be extended over here behind the green fences.
Oh, that's not the Taj Mahal, that one.
No, we don't actually see the Taj Mahal.
He's made it, he's put in place policies. They're actually sending service stations broke in Canberra. What we won't do is introduce policies in the taxi market that will make very large investments that taxi drivers have made on the basis of the rules that the government has set now, null and void. In other words, we won't send taxi drivers broke.
Taken over at least a minimum of 10 years. But plates around the country are worth that. I mean, you get down to Melbourne and the Melbourne plates are creeping back up again to what they had crashed to. Sydney's about 280 at the moment. Queensland is over 300. Incredible up there. But they have the tourist market up there that goes seven days a week all year round. Where down here we have government, which basically doesn't go all year round, but it goes pretty much for 6 months of the year, and then backing up when they're not here is the support of the government departments which run the country. So they still turn over even when government's not here.
Yeah.
So that's like our tourist industry, solid base. As opposed to having like tourists flying in and jetting in, we actually have politicians jetting in.
Yep.
What was it again? The
101.
101. There you are, Columbia House.
Shopping malls in Canberra, such as this one around Civic. And the guess who found the shopping bag lady.
times have left you to stay. Oh, shopping bag lady, sleep on the snow. If you had your fortune, you trade it for a kind hello. Oh, shopping bag lady, the winter winds blow. Society has forgotten you. There's nowhere left for you to go. Your better years zoom by so fast. Loneliness is a part of you, and oh how it lasts. No one there to really care. The city seems so cold. Yesterday you were just a child. Today you're so old. Oh, shopping bag lady, asleep on the snow. If you had your fortune, you'd trade it for a kind hello. Oh, shopping bag lady, the winter winds blow. Society has forgotten you. There's nowhere left for you to go. I would love to
into it. Civic shopping mall. The bag lady lives. House up there. The Anglican Archbishop's house. Obviously did well when they set the place up. It is between Parliament and Civic. This is the National Library. Overlook Burley Griffin. And just next to it, a little further over, is the Taj Mahal. Of course, the old Parliament House was immortalised. The High Court of Australia, also called the Gars Mahal. Sir Garfield Barwick, who was the main instigator of spending all the money on it. After the Taj Mahal, it was built in 1980, a spectacular building with an imposing Great Hall with an 80-foot ceiling, 3 courtrooms and a 6-storey administrative wing, designed by Christopher Kringus. We've got some justice from Justice by John Justin and the Thunderwings.
That's all.
Parliament House was built in 1927. It was intended as a provisional building by the architect John Smith Murdoch, and it had two major extensions. The steps were the scene of the Governor-General's dramatic proclamation dissolving both houses in 1975 on the instructions of John Kerr. Well done. And we've got Mr. Governor For You by Jeffery Cain. It's really about Ronnie Reagan, Governor of California at the time. Of course, I've stayed in California, just near the Governor's place and near the opposite the Capitol building, Sacramento.
Governor, Mr. Governor, I don't have no answer for you. Mr. Governor, I don't have no answer for you. I wouldn't let Jesus hear me go around talking like you do. I'm going to Sacramento, tell my Congressman Willie Brown. Going to Sacramento to my Congressman Willie Brown. Governor wants to put us in a bloodbath. I'm sinking down. Mr. Governor, I don't have no answer for you. Mr. Governor, I don't have no answer for you. I wouldn't let Jesus hear me go around talking like you do.
Of course, the old Parliament House was immortalised on the old 10-shilling note. 3 o'clock. King George. His Scottish uniform. Looking at the reps.
And perhaps that, that historical association with this history in the chair was one of the reasons that influenced the government later on to decide to leave it here and not take it up to the new house.
The one in the new house, does it have the same flag on the top, or
No,
no?
the same coat of arms.
It has nothing.
No,
It's just
it's a small chair that hasn't got that canopy yet. It's a very small structure.
It's a pity it doesn't have the British associations.
But anyway, oh, the rep, yes, go and have a look in. Yes, there's a guide over there.
Yeah.
Well, where are you visiting from?
From Melbourne?
All right, welcome. Well, don't have to give you a great spiel. You know it's the Senate.
Yes, I
You
know it's
all
the
the
Senate.
fun and games that go on here, and the press gallery up the top, and the lovely Rice Regal chair down there at the back under the coat of arms.
Oh, that's right,
And
yes.
the president's chair, and the chair at this side was whether or not it's the chair that the Duke of York used, we're not sure, but it's that sort of chair that he and the Duchess sat in, and it ended up being the distinguished visitors' chair.
Oh, right.
Right.
Okay.
And that's why the ropes are there, so people don't go up there.
Because they're not distinguished.
Oh well, they have been sat in a lot, but more and more people, and they touch their hands and all those sort of things. And the public gallery, of course, the 3 of them, which seated less than 100. And the new one, it sits 500.
Now I'm going to the new one tomorrow.
Well, the
So
press
it's
gallery only seated 18, and they have left some of them, but we went for a tour the other month, and they've left all their earpieces down behind where the clock is.
Oh,
but
right.
they used to have, and there's one here, used to have them along the middle section there.
Yeah.
And when I came with my late husband, those windows were open to the public and the sun and the cold. This building wasn't heated, so it was very hot and very cold. The carpet didn't get put down to the 60s.
Oh, really?
And it's crossbreed Australian wool sent to the British Isles, and all this in both houses is all one piece. It's the, it was the largest semicircle carpet.
Oh, right,
So
okay.
it's the gum nuts and the leaves of our eucalyptus, and this is representing the wattle in our coat of arms.
Yep.
So, and it was woven in Scotland, all hand woven. This is a different weave, and it doesn't have the bounce. Have you been to the rep?
I have, but...
Right. Did you sort of go like this?
No.
Well, it's much more bouncy. It's a thicker, different weave. And these weren't originally
That
in.
must be because they're more volatile in the reps. They can jump up and
well,
down
you
a
should
bit
go
more.
up to the new one. You won't be able to take that in. 3 till 4, they're going to have question time. Mr. Howard and Mr. Keating will be one another's throats again today.
Yeah, I didn't think I'd be allowed to have the video camera in there.
Oh, I don't think so. I don't think so. There are signs everywhere, and of course you even though you go in at the bottom, when you get up there, you've still got to go through like the airport. Beep, 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 beep.
Oh, that'll be fun.
And they're
All
you're told, well, there are signs saying no cameras, no videos, no...
But
this,
they have somewhere like in the
Oh,
US
yes, they've got a
Congress
cloak.
just to put them all.
they've
So
got a cloak room.
that's all right.
When you go up and you go to the House of Reps, just before you get to the House of Reps, and you turn right, and there's a cloak room halfway down, and they give you a ticket and everything.
After all, they wouldn't like anyone to knock the leading vandal of Australia off, would they?
Well, I mean, I don't think one should photo. Although I have sat there with Japanese who don't have flashes in their cameras, and it's gone click and they haven't heard it.
Yeah.
But, I mean, there are a few of them I would like to photograph and show people how they sit. A few of them. One's gone at the moment, anyway. But of course the cross benches were here. Flo Bjelke-Petersen sat here, and Don Chip sat here as the leader. As I said, that was put there for him because he used to forget to turn off his mic. And that's the only red light if you look around.
Oh, right.
And then Janine Haynes sat there, and Joan Charles sat here.
Yep.
She became, of course, the speaker and the only lady speaker. And let's try and find out where John Gorton sat originally, because he was the only one that left here to become Prime Minister.
Well, he would have just been on the Liberal side as Leader of the House.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, see, this shows you, but this is 88.
Yeah.
I must go to the archives and try and get to see where he sat. And we used to have they tell me a reporter who used to go to sleep up there because he used to bend the elbow, having a few liquid drinks.
Liquid lunch.
Yes. And he never owned a car, so the taxis used to take him home. Of course, when you wear contact lenses that far back, the smoke used to get to them. I suppose it does these days too, I don't
I suppose
know.
it does.
And, I mean, after a while, God, you must get bored to tears at some of these functions, I'm sure. And so she saw this tall figure in front of her and she sort of said, "Darling, will you please take me home? I've had enough." And it wasn't Malcolm.
It was
Gough. And I mean, it's written, so, I mean, if we say it, we know we're not hurting anybody because it's just a bit of humour. And I mean, there were a lot of nasty, when you say nasty things, but then, you know, there's humorous things. And I mean, sometimes when you think of it, you think, God, they must hate one another, and yet, outside of Parliament, they're the best of friends, some of them.
Yeah.
Although, I heard something this morning on the, was it Burton show or Today show? And I was quite surprised. Harold and Keating were very, very pally once. Somebody asked, you know, now that they're at loggerhead and he's come round again, which is most unusual. Apparently he hasn't been friendly with Howard since the opposition brought up about an association that Keating had
with his old girlfriend.
Court or something like that.
Yeah.
And I thought, why do people have to bring up I can't stand that. I think it's
Keating would bring it up if he had the chance.
No, but it's just like the royal family and all the things. I mean, I just looked through a large lens camera when I was down for the paper, and I couldn't believe. No wonder they can get into people's bedrooms or lounges or whatever you want. I think it's dreadful. I mean, yes, you can throw up some dirt, but I don't think there's some they shouldn't be allowed to. But anyway, I haven't heard about that. But everybody's got a past. Everybody's got a past. If they haven't, God, there's something wrong with them.
And there was a good joke about Gough, which his
Gough.
wife,
Margaret.
Margaret and he were in bed and she was complaining about things or something. She said, "Oh, God, I wish things would change." And Gough just turned around and said, "Look, darling, look, Margaret, when you're addressing me, just call me Gough."
Gough. Oh, dear, oh, dear. So, well, there's about a book to come out about Dear Philip. I was only saying to somebody at the weekend, I was on board HMS Walk when he was out here in Australia, and I said, "Oh, I could tell you a few little stories," and I said, "I don't bother anyway." And I said he was no different to a lot of the others that were here. And I said, "I bet you he's had a few little flings." And I said, "I've heard when he comes back to Australia he goes and visits a few of his exes." And anyway, this American woman's writing, and of course he's got the lawyers at Buckingham Palace ready for
anything.
Or something like that. I mean, it's like those people who write about people when they're dead and they're not there to back things up. I think it's fucking. But anyway, that's just not. You know why the time clocks are there, don't you?
For the 2 minute spells to get them back into Parliament. No?
It's for them to time them to speak, and 20 minutes normally.
Oh, that's a minute one,
and
yeah.
30 minutes sometimes, and the clerk, they know how long they've got to, but occasionally they try to get over the time, and in the ABC room on the other side they can cut them out. But way back in the 20s, in our first federal parliament in Victoria, the Speaker or the President, I'm not quite sure which house, I must get that straight, let a person speak for 12 hours non-stop. So you can talk for 12 hours non-stop.
in America that's called a filibuster, and that's how they stop legislation going through. By all getting up and talking as long as they can, because they're allowed to.
Well, that nearly happened the other day when I was up there on Thursday. God, the Liberals and this side were banging on the desks and going on, and I thought, oh God, and Slick got put out for 24 hours. and the man sitting beside me was writing, a young lad, and I said, oh, you one of the reporters that couldn't get in the press gallery because you was quite nice, you know, suit like yourself, everything. And he said, no, I work for one of the senators. He thought I'd come in and have a little look. And anyway, I sort of said, oh, put him out, Martin, put somebody out, for God's sake, you know. Anyway, he laughed, and there was a young lad sitting behind him. He must have been working in one of the senator's offices too. And he said, oh, turncoats. And I said, what do you mean turncoats? Because I hadn't got the new listing. And he said, oh, he used to be a Liberal, now he's a National. I said, oh, he said, sleep, you know, sort of thing.
Oh, it's not too much of a turncoat.
And then, I don't know enough about him. I should read up about him. But anyway, what do you call it? I had to laugh at Martin warned all the truckies and that were, you know, people that were in the public galleries because he'd had a problem, I think, the day before or whatever. No clapping and going on. And I thought, oh, they were clapping and going on. And I said to my friend, you're not around to go out. I said, I always feel I'd like to say boo or something. Anyway, what annoyed me though was most because we had a lot of security around the place. And there were some Indian people.
Yeah, little girls.
Yeah, that one name. Dovetailed, and the lock says Made in Australia. God, what happened to Made in Australia? And
Made
anyway,
in Australia.
The security came down and he put his hand on this Indian lady, and I thought, well, that's wrong. They were just doing what all the truckies had done, showing their feeling, because it was...
Take as many photos as you like, go to it, but please, when we go to the different offices, don't put yourself in that chair. Was a gift on the 50th anniversary of the RSL, which is the 50th anniversary of this building.
Oh, right, okay.
Yep. The plaques in the walls are the first of everything. The first Governor General, the first leader of the opposition, and that fellow down there was in the plaques, who was called the Federation. In other words, it was he was the moving force between Australia as a nation and a lot of individual states. We've had two Prime Ministers lie in the state where one died, and then I've got to qualify that. Mr. Curtin had been Mr. Curtin was Prime Minister. Yeah. So if you have a chance, either today or some other time, come and have a look at the photos in there.
Opposition party room.
I just saw you walk up the steps and the building shuts at 4 o'clock. So, and the tour takes about half an hour, which will take you to 4 o'clock. So we'll try and zoom it through a bit quickly so you have a chance to put your head around the Senate and the House of Reps. So, now, where are we now? We're in the opposition party, Senate party room. In other words, this is the room that the opposition members had for their meetings, their constituent work. Picture Canberra in the say the 30s, very small population. This room was originally for the President of the Senate. Can I just come in?
Yep.
And the President of the Senate in Australian pecking order. Oh, incidentally, as we go into each room, there's some handouts if you want to look yourself. The President of the Senate in Australian pecking order is a fairly difficult person. You've got the Governor General first, and then number 2 and number 3 is the President of the Senate and the Prime Minister. I've forgotten which was 2 and which was 3, so I usually rattle them together so I don't get it collectively wrong. But this was his office for meeting delegations, leaders, all sorts of things.
I'm sure you'll find the President of the Senate was usually higher than the Prime Minister, because the Senate would always be higher than the House of Reps.
I don't want to say it wrongly. It's better to qualify it than to be wrong. Here, that's the security system, a safe hidden within the panel there. If I've got any kids on the tour, I usually ask them to jump on there, because there's a kick lever in the floor. That's why I shut the door. In the 1970s, they put an extension on up here, and we are now in that extension. And this whole area is now for the President of the Senate, because it has quite a lot of official entertaining of one sort or another, heads of visiting foreign countries, foreign delegations, trade leaders, also opening the Parliament. The Queen has opened our Parliament 3 times. I'm talking about opening Parliament after an election. Okay, come through this way. These are the reception rooms for the President of the Senate. The first woman in the Senate was Dorothy Tangney. She later became Dame Dorothy Tangney. She was a school teacher from Western Australia, and she came into the Senate in the 1940s. Across over here, just through the window, you'll see the Aboriginal Tent Embassy, which has been there since the 1970s. We have had one Aboriginal senator only, Senator Bombala, who came from the Northern Rivers region of New South Wales. A very intelligent man, a very clever man, a very far-sighted man. Unfortunately, nobody has taken his place. Until somebody else rises within the Aboriginal.
And are they living still there? Are they living still there? Yeah.
I don't actually think they live there. I could be wrong on that one. Occasionally you see somebody there lighting a fire or a dog there or something like that. But usually the door is open actually.
I would have thought they would have moved that up to the new Parliament House.
Well, they didn't. It's more than their political life is worth to move it. Talking of moving things, the statue of King George V was in the middle over there, but that's been moved because it was fair. It was about where that car is now. If you can see where I went.
Yeah.
On top of Mount Ainslie there's a beacon, and then you come down through the top ceiling of the Hall of Memory in Royal, through the centre of King's Hall, up to the house on the hill in the Parliamentary Walk. And that statue was fair square in the way, so it was moved in the 1960s. Okay, we'll keep on the move. If I wish to rush another one.
Just in the corner quiet, yeah. Why do you?
G-E...
General.
This is an exhibition about this building and its history. It's not on the original tour. We'll come back and have a look. This shows you the building when it was originally, as it was when it was originally built. It's interesting for 2 reasons. First of all, you can see the balconies fairly clearly. So when they begin to run out of space, first thing that goes is the balconies. And also, it's got snow. Now, we don't often have snow here. I'm sorry to rush you, but I'm sort of trying to get it all in one. That's about right, and give you a minute to look at the other things at the other end. Now, we're in the same room as before, but we're in the House of Reps, not the Senate. Green carpet, you see. And the House of Reps chamber faces that way. And the government is always on the right-hand side of the speaker, so here we are in the government party room, where before we were in the opposition party room. Same comments as before, furniture of the 30s and the 40s, phone boxes were added later. You've got your bell, divisional bells, you've got your spun light fittings, aluminium light fittings.
Where is it used for now? For museum only?
How do you mean?
It's not used anymore.
Not this
only
part.
a museum.
But there's one interesting point here, different. Who remembers Mr. Gorton as Prime Minister in the 60s?
I do, yes.
Right. Do you remember the political, I'll call it turbulence at the time? Party infighting in a sense?
Yes, Sir John McEwen didn't want McMahon to be Prime Minister.
Well, you all that time. Do you remember a challenge for leadership? The votes were equal, and Sir John Gorton
made the casting vote against
himself
Yep.
in this room.
Right.
So, come on, we'll keep on the move. Where we're going to go just down there is an extension, but that was the original office. And if you can visualise standing here, I've got a whole lot of cupboards behind me. Can you see what I'm trying to say? There's the cupboards, a bed in case he couldn't get home at any time. By today's standards, yes. Now, the photos down the wall here are people who've been Prime Minister at different times. And just note the fact that there's a switchboard there, because that becomes relevant later on. So come with me. Anybody come from Melbourne?
Yes, I do.
No. Right, who remembers Mr. Menzies, affectionately known as Pig Iron Bob?
I used to use my father's office for elections.
Well, there you are. I didn't have said that. Yeah.
I did.
Another Melbourne person, Stanley Melbourne Bruce.
Yep.
He has the dubious distinction of being the only person who, when an election came along, he lost his own seat as well as his government lost power, so he was out.
Well, it was
Then
32, wasn't it?
Yeah, then he went on to become Australian High Commissioner in London. Now we are in an extension of the 1970s, and believe it or not, this is the private reception room for the Prime Minister of Australia. So sit a dozen people down and give them a cake, a cup of tea and a piece of cake and their business papers, and you'd be in trouble. In other words, it's not a very big room. Photos on the end are Mr. Scullin and Billy Hughes and two South African golfers, and on this side here we have it's in the 1930s. Mr. Lyons from Tasmania is fourth from the end, in the far end, and he died in 1937 or 39, I'm not sure which. So that sort of puts a date on that picture. Would you like to go through there, please? Sorry to sort of rush it, but otherwise they won't see everything. It's awkward when the building shuts at 4 and somebody comes in late and then you don't get a chance to see them. Right, Prime Minister's office, as occupied by these three gentlemen, Mr. Hawke, Mr. Fraser and Mr. Wickham. And you'd think, oh gee, it's a nice office. Have a print out for those that want it. And yes, it is a nice, airy office. But let's think a bit further. Think of President Kennedy assassinated. Think of the Indian Prime Minister assassinated. Think of the Israeli team at the Munich Olympic Games. And then think, oh, nothing like that ever happened in Australia. Who remembers Mr. Corwell being shot in Sydney in the 60s?
Yeah, but that was, he was travelling in a car somewhere and shot.
Yeah, that's a different situation, but it does happen. And last year, the New South Wales State Member for Cabramatta.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to paint you is a picture of security, or the lack of it. Any bandicoot could sit under a tree over there with a gun and just wait till whoever they wanted came to the window.
Oh, they could do it from across the lake.
Exactly. You see, when the building was designed in 1920, one entrance for everybody, be you the Queen or the Prime Minister. Security in that sense, in the sense that we know it today, was not an issue. Up at the house on the hill, the Prime Minister has his own entrance, own car entrance, everything. This last week with the blockade by the trucks, he had to be walked in. So security was not an issue in days gone by, but it's very much an issue now. And another reason too why it became outdated, if you've been to the house on the hill, I don't think the tours take you through the cabinet area. But in the cabinet, speech is free, it's not recorded. And if you really want to know what somebody thinks, well, that's the place to eavesdrop. What I'm coming to is that this building was designed before electronic eavesdropping became so refined. Up there, there's lead shields over the whole cabinet area.
All right.
Just have a look at the little peephole here, and then go through there and turn right, would you?
through.
Now, believe it or not, you're in the office of the Principal Private Secretary of the Prime Minister of Australia. There's a bit of perspex over the front of this so I can touch it. I started to rub it off and then they said, oh no, stop, because it's a bit of history. It's Mr Hawke's itinerary for around about the time that they went to the house on the hill. A couple of things are interesting.
Isn't it the Minister for Sport's whiteboard?
That's why I prefaced my remarks by saying I could touch it. There's perspex there. Wills is the name of the Melbourne electorate, suburban electorate that Mr Hawke represented. Come Anzac Day, what happens? Mr Hawke goes back home to Melbourne. Anything that has to be done in Canberra can be done by somebody else, the Governor-General or whoever you like, but he goes back home to Melbourne. A couple of days later we had dinner with Mr Burke in Western Australia. Does that mean anything to anybody?
Yes.
Mr Burke is the Premier of Western Australia, or he was then. He's now a guest of Her Majesty. You understand what I mean? He's, in other words, he's a prisoner. We'd also just had a royal visit. I suggested you have a look at the peephole, and you can see the other side of it there. In other words, did they usher people through the door to see, first of all, they put their eye to that to see if he was there or not. Now, out on the end, Mr Ford and Mr Fatten. They weren't Prime Minister for very long, but they were Prime Minister. This side, who remembers the phrase all the way with LBJ?
Yes, I do.
Mr.
Holt.
Oh, yeah.
Harold Holt.
You prattle along here and sometimes names escape you. Then we've got Blackjack McEwen, Mr Gordon, the one who gave the cast and vote against himself, and Billy McMahon. The new house on the hill has quite an extensive...
Beautiful painting still.
No, that wasn't really that. This is cabinets in there, and it's got quite an extensive anti-route to cabinet, because often people from industry or wherever can be asked to come and give their opinion on whatever it might happen to be. And they're people who are at the top of their tree, as it were. And they've got important work to continue. The house up on the hill has got desks and facilities for people to keep on working. You might be called at, say, 9:30, and your matter mightn't be discussed until 2 o'clock. And you've got to sit here cool your heels on that chair, and it can be very awkward and waste of time for a lot of people. So there's much more space in the house on the hill. I mean, I'm a bit younger, you're a bit younger than I am, and in the 70s that was absolutely in, wasn't it? All the little tiles. We really thought you were Christmas. See, that still absorbed the sound.
What sort of wood veneer is this? It's
I have
walnut
been
or
told,
something?
but I can't remember. Yeah. I'm sorry, I don't know. Now we're in cabinet room, as used for cabinet meetings, Prime Minister's conferences, not Prime Ministers, Premiers' conferences and the London Council. And here you can see more effectively how the balcony has been incorporated. From about here or thereabouts, that much would have been used for a couple of wall cabinet meetings. But also out there, anybody could heave through whatever you like through the window and get the whole Australian cabinet in one hit. Security again. Have you heard how this room has a leaky roof? I don't mean rain. Mr Whitlam, come back here, it tells you. Mr Whitlam is attributed with this story that, see, you've got a thick, that's why I pointed out, thick wall there, but an even thicker one out there as we go out. But don't worry about the air conditioning ducts, because speech here was free. You could say what you felt, and the only thing that was recorded was the chap in the corner there taking the minutes. You can see it, the roof's up here, and it's coated with some sort of bitumen type product, so you can walk on it. Now, whether people actually did put their ear to the air conditioning ducts to hear what was going on, I don't know. But as I say, if you read there, that's where Mr Whitlam says the room has a leaky roof, so that's what he was getting at. Okay? And when I said to you before, have a look at the fact that there's a switchboard thing there. These are where the buttons were. But come through here and look at this lovely big wall here. And there's a rose garden at the other side. There they are starting it. Oh. They've opened this office being a typical office of a member that he had to share with his staff. So would you have an office like that these days? Yeah.
You have gold doors or something like that.
Gee, very comfy. That turned the rolls. Must be just on 4 o'clock. Normally there's a video in here put in by the Film and Sound Archive and it runs for 11 minutes and it tells you about early Canberra. But come on, we'll keep going. These photos down here are the people who have been opposition leader at different times. And now we're back in the over there. Come back another time and have a look again.
Thanks very much.
Pleasure.
It's great.
Pleasure. Thank you very much. Pleasure.
Now, back of old Parliament House. Now to go up the hill, across. Australia's new Parliament House. Built in 1988, it's Australia's largest building. It's enormous. An architectural masterpiece that was designed by Mitchell, Gola and Thorpe and selected from 329 submissions from 28 countries. Rich in marble and fine timber, it has over 4,500 rooms, 3,000 art rooms and one of the 4 Magna Carta originals. The 220-ton flag mast reaches 225 feet above the roof and is the largest stainless steel structure in the world. Also, the tax gathering building of Australia. It's not really the tax office, but it authorises it, and we've got taxmans where all the taxmen live.
Good times for a change. Seems the luck I've had can make a good man turn bad. So please, 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 let me get what I want this time. The first time, Lord knows it would be the first time. Haven't had a dream in a long time. Seems the life I've had can make a good man bad. So for once in my life, let me get what I want. Lord knows it would be the first time. Lord knows it would be the first time.
That's for the economic vandals, led by the pig from the lodge, who are now in charge. It's a cathedral. It's a Catholic one. The economic leader, the vandals car. It's the National Party. Getting back to Pat's now along Melbourne Avenue, and this is Canterbury Crescent and Somers Crescent. Melbourne Avenue. And over here is one of the many embassies. One there that they're working on. I don't know what the flag is. It's not listed, and these lads are working on it. Bearing the gate post, obviously the ambassador's wife is knocked down. And this low-slung building is the High Commission of Malta. And I don't know if that little house is anything. National Service, quite nice. Now on Empire Circuit. There's this big house over here. You know what that's for? The Church of England Canberra Girls Grammar School. 1926. Aiuben tutti adum nil. Canberra. Well, the school's in a nice building. This is marked as a walking track, but it could be an old rail track. I found myself now in the heart of Canberra, trying to reach Deakin. And come on, Strickland Road, I hope. Trees to the lake. Till I just came down and up. Pushing on, I hope, to somewhere. So I think I'm on target. There seems to be the drain that's on the map. So we'll just push on. I'll forward a little place, this one. Civilization, houses again. Nice view out there. Push on down this way. A bit more of the park. What they call this park? Federal Golf Course up above. Doesn't have a name. It's a Red Hill Park. It's a Canberra Nature Park. That's what it is. I think I meant to divert from the main trail, just up here, down this one and join onto the road. I should have been on Strickland Crescent. It's the first one I've gone on. Bull ants all over the place here. All over Canberra. Bull ants. Everywhere. This one must be Strickland. Yes. In the creek now. Up there seems to be an out. Out and find out where we are. somewhere. Leaves Huckleberry Finn. Of course. Which of course is probably Gourley Place. Now the street was Galway Street as I expected, and I've now led myself down to the little park near Carrington Street. And we'll now be able to proceed to Pat's. Carrington Street, the other end of Pat's Street. No, we know not the park's name. Obviously, if you don't have enough garden of your own to look after, extend onto the nature strip. Put in your own patio and your own garden. Well done. It's Carrington Avenue, Carrington Street. Lord Carrington Street, is it? Well done. Look, Pat's house. Corner Cairn Street. Well, it's a bit like when Jimmy Cain Street. Still, one of the oldest houses in Canberra.
Royal Belgian Embassy, that's the Belgian Embassy.
Oh, right.
Oh, look, that's crossed off, cut off there. Why is that? Is that the Yanks up there? No.
Here's
the Yanks here.
These are the Yanks, the Georgian house.
The Georgian house.
Okay, now we want to stop here.
You want to go around the front, or no, you want to do it all down this way, or would you like to open your...
The United States Embassy. It was built in 1943 and based on the Williamsburg colonial style and using distinctive local and imported bricks. It was the first embassy to be built in Canberra in a national style, and Frederick Larkin was the architect. Steve Stills and his one-time band Manasses asked, "Do you remember the Americans?" Of course, Manasses is a little town just near Williamsburg, Quantico, and that section of just south of Washington in Virginia.
Standing by Snowdrift in the pale moonlight, hitchhiking west on a highway at night, trying to get to Frisco, looking for my girl. Here come a trucker, hope you don't mind, long girl. This same road, never saw a trucker leave a man out in the cold. No rider sign on the window, never meant a thing. Nowadays they just roll on. Look. Scratch my head and kick the snow. 4 years overseas while the strangers in my home. Where are the country people? Does anybody know? Do you remember the Americans? Where did they go? Were they simply bold and so?
That's the Italian up there.
It's really lovely.
Oh,
inside,
yes,
it's
right.
just stunning.
And it goes all the right up. This is the back entrance to the lodge.
Yeah. Now this is walking distance from Mummy's or
Your place? Yeah. I'd actually...
Well, that's nice, I'll tell you what.
Okay, now that's the old Peruvian.
That's the old
Yes,
Peruvian.
that's
That's
the
the
old
Peruvian now, don't
I have no idea.
Where Anne was with...
The Chancellery is now in town somewhere, but I don't know where the residence is. But
Sunset on...
Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? The Brisabellas. Absolutely.
Sunset in Canberra.
Beautiful.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
It's the main gates to Yarralumla.
Yes, they're the main gates here. Yeah.
This is about as close as you'll get. Do you want to go right up? No?
That's all right.
Oh no, the guard's sitting there.
He's watching us.
He's watching us with our camera, wondering if it's a gun. Alright, well, it's the Governor-General's house.
But they do open it up for fates. It's really rather nice.
Oh, they have visiting times too.
Yeah.
Right, this is Red Hill.
Red Hill.
Over
Lovely
there,
Red
there's
Hill.
3 hills: Red Hill, Mount Ainslie, and Black Mountain. That's the communications
Oh, with the
tower.
communication tower.
That's right. Here we have the Parliament House down here with those lights going down like that.
Yeah.
That's the Anzac Parade. Oh, I'm sorry, honey. Anzac Parade going up to the War Memorial. See that little dome at the end? Yes. That's it. The airport's over there.
There's the bridge over the river, over the lake, which you've come across a couple of times today.
This is the Parliamentary Triangle. There's another one over here. Can you see it, honey? I'm lost.
Oh, it's got to be further over because there's the admin block.
Oh, it should be over this way somewhere. Yeah. Oh, is that it?
Yeah.
No, that wouldn't be it. It's not in the triangle. Hang on. There it is there, I think. See these lights going along there, just there?
Yeah.
That's Kings Avenue Bridge going that way. That one goes that way, and it comes to the apex is...
Wrong.
No,
There's the Carillon, and
yeah.
the bridge is over there. See the Carillon?
Yeah, those lights,
the
that's
bridge,
what I'm saying.
Yeah, where the cars are coming off.
Oh, yes, I can see those cars.
And that's
the Parliament House is the apex.
Yeah.
That's Anzac up there. That's what's it called? The defence units all along there at the back.
That's Russell Hill.
Hill.
The defence units.
What are they doing? Defending Canberra against
the rest of Australia.
The rest of Australia.
Bull dust, you know. Those bright
against
lights
the West
over there is the
Australians,
airport.
probably.
Yeah,
yes.
that's right.
And their succession.
Yep.
Did you ever read the book?
There's a French restaurant called the Carousel, right on top of Red Hill.
That's right.
Okay. And so we haven't managed to make the French embassy tonight, so we're going to have François Hardy singing for us.
C'est bon.
C'est bon.
C'est bon.
Until it's time for you to go.
You're not a dream, you're not a ninja, you're a man. I'm not a queen, I'm a woman, take my hand. We'll make a space in the lives that we planned, and here we'll stay on
and that's lamination there.
Behind that painting.
Okay, we'll have a
In the
look.
other area. Everything with it. It's a new year.
Royal Commission of Ascent. Queen herself signed it. It's a great hall. Queen's Terrace Gallery. Queen's Terrace. Queen on it. Queen's Terrace Gallery. Queen's Court. Faye. Patrick. And this is the Queen's Court Cafe looking at over. Country from what number 6 months. Cool.
The Prime Minister comes from the ministerial wing right at the back of the building, along a ceremonial walkway in the main black and white marble foyer to greet those people out underneath the great veranda. When Parliament's sitting, as is a sitting day today, there are 3,221 people employed in this building. And it's rather like a city within itself. On the lower level, in the private areas, we have a Westpac bank and a Qantas office, a hairdressing salon, a couple of coffee shops, a florist now who has a lovely florist cart out in the private areas, which is very handy for ordering flowers. And we greet at the front door and they ask us to show them where Blue Poles is, that very well-known painting in the National Gallery. They very, very often get this tapestry mixed up with Blue Poles. This tapestry is one of the largest in the world and was designed by a well-known Australian artist, Arthur Boyd. And he's just been named Australian of the Year. The tapestry shows a forest area in the Shoalhaven region on the south coast of New South Wales. The tapestry was woven by 13 members of the Victorian Tapestry Workshop. They worked on it full-time over a period of 2.5 years. First of all, 4 special looms were made. The tapestry's been woven in 4 sections. It's now held together with industrial Velcro. I'll just move up here to your own imagination. People find all sorts of fantastic things in that tapestry, but all we were told were purposely included were the comet and the cockatoo. The tapestry was incidentally commissioned for that site and woven to fit around those doors. People very often come through the other end doorway to come on a tour, and especially people coming through, I've noticed, on bus tours, and they come through this other end door, stop dead in their tracks, having heard about the tapestry before coming to Canberra. When they actually see it, they think it's been ruined, that the doors were a later addition, and the tapestry's been cut to fit around the doors, but it was actually commissioned for that site. We're in the members' hall area now, and this area is the link between the 2 chambers. Along the glass walkway on this side, the House of Representatives chamber, and on the other side, the Senate. And for those people who weren't with us at the beginning of the tour, the Senate sits for question time at 2 o'clock. Right around the walls in this main members' hall area, there are portraits of former Prime Ministers. Many of those were hanging in King's Hall in Old Parliament House earlier on. At present, we are between those huge curved walls, and those walls are covered with 23,000 slabs of granite from Eugowra near Forbes in New South Wales. Within this main section of the building are the public and ceremonial areas, the executive wing with meeting rooms and the libraries. And then linked up, as I just said, on the along these glass walkways are the chambers, members' offices, and the press, media and Hansard reporters also have offices on the Senate side of the building. You'll see as you cross over these linkways that there are beautiful courtyards surrounding the building. There are 16 courtyards, and as you'll see, many of them have a different water feature. The European trees have been continued out in these courtyard areas because they lose their leaves in the winter and allow the natural light to come into the building. You'll notice there's a great emphasis being placed on allowing natural light to come into this building. And then on the other side of Parliament Drive, flying across the top of the pool, it looks like a sheet of glass, doesn't it? Sometimes when you step back from the railing in this gallery area, you can see the flag which is flying above, reflected in the pool below. And very, very often you can see the brass star of Federation, which is on each of these beautiful timber columns, reflected in the pool below. But it's very bright today, so you're not able to see anything in there. The pool actually has two purposes. One is to reflect the pool right in the centre of this building, and the other is with the noise of the water going across the top of the pool all the time. It's meant to veil the conversations of people if they're crossing over between the chambers, so that we up here can't hear what's going on down there. Very fast, isn't it? Our flag mast is one of the largest stainless steel structures in the world.